principals.
Success.
We are our school leadership is very understanding of the situation that we are going through, and they are very supportive of where we are now, and they know the plan as we move forward.
With that, I would like to move on to item 5C, which will be the last item on the agenda. I appreciate our athletic department and program and those staff members who have remained here during this late hour. And so if we can get their presentation up.
Good evening, everyone. I don't want to spend a lot of time repeating things that have already been said here tonight. We are in a pandemic. Our athletes have suffered. You guys know this. It's not new information. We have had no daily contact with our athletes. Our athletes do better when our coaches can chase them down in the halls, check on them, follow them around, check their grades constantly, because there's everyday connection with them. We haven't had that in a year. So our athletic programs obviously have suffered this year. That's just one reason. Other things are they're not doing their work. They're not logging in. They're not going to get free physicals that we offer at Rosalind Franklin because they don't have rides. All these things are coming up. They're not having the opportunity to go to study tables during their lunch hours and get tutorial help from our staff. You know, the IHSA didn't help us in this pandemic when they changed all the sports around. We have going on right now football, baseball, track, boys soccer, boys volleyball. So that's 5 sports for boys that are going on right now that they normally could play 2 or 3 of. They have had to choose. So all those factors play in to why we're not getting our numbers. And it really is unfortunate for us because in the last 3 years, with Michael's help, we've put together a really good JAMS program through middle school and then on to high school, and we saw approximately 37% growth in our athletes and participation. And in 1 year, that kind of went downhill. So now it's time to regroup. It's time to rebuild. We've spent a lot of time, and thanks to this board and Ms. Placencia, with the resources you've given us, we have redone so many facilities. If you drive around campus, you'll see the screens up on the softball fields. You'll see new softball fields. You'll see lights at the stadiums. You'll see great facilities that our kids deserve. They deserve success. They deserve great facilities. We have new weight rooms. We have new fitness rooms. That's a viewing room that's on the board there that they watch film and evaluate their performance in games. With the help of Miss Hannah, we are now getting new locker rooms. That's coming up. So I thank you for that because that's way overdue. So we have great facilities for our kids. Now it's time to build those programs again. Build them up. I know we have a statement at the board the last meeting was that our football team doesn't win, our basketball team doesn't win. I want to point out a couple things about that. We are in the North Suburban Conference. We joined the North Suburban Conference 6 years ago, 5 years, I think 5, I take it back because it was right before me. The North Suburban Conference is the top athletic conference in the state. Every year, 5, if not 6, of our football teams in our conference go to the state playoffs. Every year. So we didn't do ourselves any favor by joining the North Suburban. They are top to bottom, the best conference in the state, one of them. So we have to work doubly hard to compete in that conference. And all we can do is train our athletes. We're putting some things in place like hiring strength coaches that they can work with all summer, that hopefully we'll get some of them back and in competitive form. So it's tough. Also, another point, because you guys made me think after the last board meeting about the football program. In the last 20 years in football, we've won 39 games at Waukegan High School. So football hasn't exactly been a dominant force in 20 years. 39 games, that's less than 2 games a year. So we need to build that program back. It hasn't been good, it's not good now, and we need to build it back. We're here for our athletes. We want them to be successful. We want them. They deserve that. I agree 100% with any statement that they deserve success, and they do. So we are putting camps in place this summer that's hopefully going to, and I put all these statistics on the board. You guys can read these. That was growth. This slide particular was growth from 18 to 19, and then COVID hit, and we were obviously not in the same place. So we're willing to put the time in. We're going to work hard. We're going to change some middle school structure because we don't want to sit back and watch our kids not be trained properly, not be taught skills that they need for high school. And we are going to change the middle school program up a little bit and offer a variety of different things that I'm going to turn it over and let Michael talk about. But that's where we're sitting. And I know I went through this fast, but you guys have been sitting here all night, and I want you guys to get an opportunity to ask us questions. But we are working hard, and our kids, our 60 soccer kids that were out there and just ended their season Saturday, did well. They won. Our sophomore soccer team played in the conference championship Saturday. We've had successes. We've had all-state bowlers. We've had 4 all-state power lifters. We've had a state championship team in powerlifting 2 years ago. So we've had great successes. The bowling program has produced state qualifiers and gotten downstate. We have 75 badminton girls out for badminton. So we have some great successes. Our girls volleyball program didn't suffer at all this year. We had 4 full levels that competed in every single game. We never had to sit out or not play a level because they were all out there. So there is some great successes in our programs. So we don't want to get too focused on football. Yes, we know we have to improve on football. We'll improve on football. We know that. But we have a lot of other things to celebrate. This slide, the NCAA, just to touch on that a little bit. So the clearinghouse, the NCAA counseling, that's under the counseling department, which is Avanda. But we've met on committees with Avanda, and what we're doing through the athletic program is tagging every athlete that comes in as a freshman. So if they come and sign up for a fall sport as a freshman, they're getting tagged in the clearinghouse, and the counselors will see that tag and be able to identify them and put them in proper classes. Whether they're going on the path of Division I or just going to go to CLC or not playing sports at all and just going to college. Every athlete that comes in the school deserves a chance to be put on that path. They have to have the opportunity. So that's what we're going to do. So they'll have that tag on their name, and the counselors will identify them. Avanda's got a great program going with training the counselors in the NCAA clearinghouse so they can counsel these athletes right and get them the help they need, get them the classes they need, and push them on that path. So we have made that adjustment because there never was that tag before, but it's very important that we get our kids out there right away. I'll turn it over to Michael. Sorry, Mike.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I just want to get straight to solutions. We've all expressed our concerns about a lot of the issues and problems. As a guy that served this community for 20 years now and knowing everything that we've gone through, COVID didn't help. I think that's the obvious. Right now, what we need to do, what the biggest problems I'm having right now, we've established a fantastic JAMS elementary program. JAMS is fantastic. I mean, schools love it, principals love it, community loves it. If you've ever been out to one of the events, the energy is amazing. But here's the gap. I've only had the middle school for 2 years now. And the gap that I'm seeing is our middle school program, which directly affects our high school. What I'm finding is that, I'm going to keep it real, I petitioned outside conferences for the last 2 years to let Waukegan middle schools into a conference. This is what pisses me off. The surrounding cities won't allow Waukegan kids to come to their schools to play games. So coincidentally, all we get to do is play each other. So it's 5 schools playing each other all the time. That's not going to get us better at any level. With that being said, not only are we behind, by the time our 6th graders get to middle school, you're competing against school districts where their kids have been training since 3rd grade second grade with a whole different sports culture than any of you guys have experienced sitting on this board. It's not the same game anymore. These kids are training. I know because I got mine in it. I spend thousands of dollars a year for my kids to train. So with the middle school level, we have to do something where we're going to break that up. And this is what I'm proposing. And I'm not going to be long, but I've been waiting here all night. Yes, ma'am.
Your mask up in. Thank you.
I'm
Thank
Puerto
you.
Rican.
I know.
I'm a
We
little
just have to wear it.
expressive.
We have to wear it all the time.
So this is what I would like to do. First of all, we're not going to interrupt the regular sports programs that are going on right now. Each of the schools will continue to play each other. We see the value in that as far as the sportsmanship, you know, the schools going against each other, building principles, all the stuff that goes with that. But we need to add another layer. So here's what I propose to do. I want to start Waukegan Middle School teams. So I want to take every single sport that we offer. I want to take the best players from each building, put them on one team, and call them Waukegan Middle School. So it's no longer do I have to go out and seek games for 5 buildings, which no one really wants us, but I'll go out and I'll seek games for one team. And guess what? If the schools in the surrounding communities don't play us, there's tournaments. There's all type of events where our kids can get higher level sports. There's all type of stuff out there. Our kids have to get out of the walls of Waukegan.
Our students in. Why
excuse-
won't they play it?
The excuse I get is kind of like, you know, the conferences are locked. We don't have the budgets to add more teams.
I can't even hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's why I have my mask off. I'm trying to speak low. Their conferences are locked. Like, say they have 8 teams in a conference, like, say, Antioch, Lake Forest, Libertyville, they're all in a conference. Well, they're actually 2 separate conferences. But so they have 8 schools in their conference. There's no way they're going to let 5 more schools come into their conference. I've even proposed to let 1 school at a time come into. I'll send 2 over here, 1 over here. We'll get in different conferences for each individual building. It never happens. It never goes anywhere. So coincidentally, it's like a cycle. Our kids just keep playing each other year after year, year after year, and we're not getting better. So I want to break that up. I want to do something at a higher level. So these kids that play for Waukegan Middle School, they'll get additional skills training that will level the playing ground compared to what our outside surrounding cities are getting. They'll get better coaching. You know, one of the other issues that I face in the middle schools is that, at least from my understanding with the contract, that I have to give first dibs to teacher coaches in the middle schools, which, mind you, I think we got some fantastic teacher coaches, but we also have some that aren't. So, you know, Mr. Johnny teaching math that played middle school basketball back in the 70s is not necessarily the best guy for that position right now in 2021. So I need to be able to hire the best possible person for those positions so that we can get better that way. And just keep growing it. So I'll start these levels, we'll travel, we'll get the kids the experiences, we'll get on a bus, and we'll drive to Lake Forest and play some games. Just to drive to Lake Forest for kids in Waukegan is an amazing thing when you start looking at some of these houses and some of the things that's going on. It just expands what they're thinking. So, and that being said, I want to start that. It's not going to be an easy thing. It's going to be a work thing. I'm going to have to roll my sleeves up. We're going to have to get some community folks involved. We're going to have to do some partnerships. It's going to be a host of things that needs to make that happen.
Well,
but I'm willing to put in the work.
And we have someone in the back of the room with a successful program for young people that I would encourage you to talk with and possibly form a partnership. Back there,
Mr. Springs.
yeah, Mr. Springs back there, and he has a very successful program that he's working with children. And Mr. Gonzalez, I promise, I did not hear what you said about why we were not being allowed, or the other students.
They will not accept us into their conference.
Yeah, I can't be,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry about the
No,
obstruction.
it's fine. They will not accept us in their conferences, and I've tried several different conferences to get our schools in. So
Do we gotta pay them?
we got to politic. We got to do something to convince these other superintendents that, you know what, Waukegan kids need to be in these conferences. They need the same opportunities that everybody else gets. So until we do that, I can't deal with that anymore. I got to figure out a way to get us better without going through all that. So that's what I'm proposing tonight is let's do our own thing. Let's make Waukegan notice. Let them know we're here. If you're going to run from us, but eventually you're going to have to see us.
Right, I understand what you're saying.
So
Is the presentation
yeah,
over?
Mr. Springs.
But is the presentation over?
So, we're gonna have summer camps this summer. They're all gonna be out. We're gonna advertise them through all the middle schools and, have the secretaries at the middle schools send those flyers out to every student and their parents through email so they know, and try and recruit as many kids as we can get into our programs this summer, especially 8th graders that are coming into the high school next year. So, questions for us or me?
Mr. McBride has a comment, and then there's two audience, well, I see one audience question, and then I saw Mr. Springs heading this way.
The comments I have, you take Mr. Gonzalez, he come to us in our last board meeting. We questioned why our programs and our boys are not coming out and our girls are not coming out to engage in any sports and whatnot. And I totally agree with Mike. We got AAU teams out there. We have maybe one AAU team, which a gentleman by the name of Skeezy, outstanding job. And, been doing it for practically, I want to say at least that I know, 20 years, recruiting our kids that we can't get to come out to sports in our programs, but he's getting them. And just as Mike was saying, he's going all over the place with these kids playing. And I agree that sometimes I understand union contracts and whatnot. Sometimes teachers are not the best coaches. Sometimes teachers are not taking nothing away from them, but a lot of times teachers come out to coach because there's a salary involved. And if I was a teacher, I probably would come out too all the time because I'm going to get paid for it. But I think that sitting on the bench with a kid is more to it than just the idea of he's sitting there because I'm going to receive some finance. I think some encouraging is involved, some character building is involved, and also making sure the kid, from an academic standpoint, making grades. And so I think the program that Mike is offering, I don't know the board is listening, I think it's a perfect program, and we can't denounce Mr. Gonzalez. He talked about the JAMS program. The JAMS program, before we had COVID, the gym was full with kids and parents. All year round, from soccer to basketball, parents participated, and you cannot deny that. The only reason I think that's what just slowed that down is the COVID. But the idea that he's coming up with this different protocol and changing things in sports, it just is something that we need. I mean, and I heard Ms. Hannah mention Mr. Springs back there. He's another resourceful person that's good with kids. And not only that, little I know about him, he not only brings sports to the program. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Springs worked at Allendale for School for Boys and places like that. So he has a host of knowledge. And at the same time, these are the kind of individuals that we need to come into our district to help make these programs work right, and at the same time be a support for our kids and get them out of the hallways and get them involved. So I would ask the board that the sound knowledge that we're listening to in terms of trying to change the program around and make it work for the benefit of the district and the family and children, to take heed to what he's saying. I mean, he didn't prove himself $1,000. Just with that JAMS program, if anybody was involved with it, matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the superintendent's son was in the JAMS program. I mean, again, like I said, anytime you can get parents to fill a gymnasium up, to be sitting there watching their kids, whoever runs that program must be doing something right.
And
Mr. Shinton?
So this is more of a statement. When I first got here, I I asked Ms. Urbach for a little tour because I had seen some pictures. And when my son was here, and going to other schools in the conference, and even the conference that we were in was just as brutal as the conference that we're in now. But I'm overwhelmed by just looking around at what has been done, but it's way overdue. I can remember taking my son to the field house because he didn't want to lift here because it was so depressing. All right? But living in this community for a long time, I do like your idea. So the only apprehension that I have is I've watched a lot of youth sports become a feeder for other districts. Okay? We pick out the best, whether it's, say, go back to when it was the Waukegan Chiefs. The best football players ended up going to Carmel, Warren. They went everywhere else. We were left with what we've got. My only apprehension would be is, are we making, we can't force these kids to stay in Waukegan. So you're going to have, we'll be highlighting, say, the cream of the crop, and we're going to have then other schools looking at them and saying, hey, you know what? I can offer you a scholarship to come to Carmel if you want to come either play basketball, play football, or whatever. And we've become like a feeder for some other school except our own.
Yes, sir.
Oh, real quick. We want Waukegan to be great. We want Waukegan first to be good and to be mediocre because we're below mediocre right now. And as a person that's a part of the community, to see how terrible we are is so depressing. Like when I went to, I was excited to go see football, play spring football. When the lights came up, I'm out there because that means something to me. I remember practicing under one light at Wise Field 40 years ago. So when we got the lights, that was, we okay. But then you went to see the football team play, and it was the most depressing thing you've ever seen in your life. And it doesn't matter if we play in this conference, we're one of the best in the state because there's some other conferences that are better. We shouldn't be that bad. Coach Ashlaw has done some good things with the program, but the decline over the past few years is only going to increase unless Mike is able to do what he's talking about doing. I've been able to have 100+ athletes spring, summer, fall, through Corona. Some of the stuff I couldn't do if I was part of the school, but we've been hitting it. When they said we couldn't go to the gym, we going outside. When they said we couldn't do none of that, we went virtual. So we've been having basketball, football players train year-round. We didn't miss anything. I haven't missed any athletes. We've been training year-round since this time last year. We were training virtually at that time. That means get your camera, set your camera up, and we're going to train like this. It's been working for mentoring. It's been working for basketball, football, and all that. I'm basketball, football, strength training. I will work with Mike. If Mike wants to work, we can get him in the conference. We don't need to be in the conference of the locals. We'll go down to Evanston. Evanston put us in the conference. They're better than the locals anyway. So none of them not no good anyway, Mike, so it don't matter. So we can go down to Evanston, gas the van, and go play. You know what I'm saying? But right now, we're not good. So it's a lot of work. I want us to be great. I'm going to work with Waukegan however we can. I believe Colette has great ideas and interests in that she's committed. Some things have to change, though. It can't just be all the coaches get to keep their job. That can't be the case. And I'm not campaigning for anyone's job. But everybody can't keep their job if we're that bad. If we're that bad, somebody got to go. Something got to change. They can't just be, oh, we're terrible. But what about this? No, but we're too terrible to not change. Y'all have a good evening.
I'll throw one thing in. I had pages and pages of response to the school board meeting last week. The one thing I just want to throw in, boys basketball is getting mentioned an awful lot lately. The standard by which we're being judged now is the standard that I built. We didn't inherit anything. We didn't inherit a full set of uniforms.
For this year,
I know me returning here was controversial, but within my second year of each of my stints, we were Sweet 16. Our talent cycle is low currently, but our program is unparalleled. We 37 young men have left our varsity roster to college rosters directly. We have met every standard that I have been asked to meet, and to be constantly under fire when the standard is what we set, what we built, I think is absolutely unfair. One rough season. We had 13 out of 15 players, 28-6. 13 out of 15 of our players were seniors. We lost every meaningful statistic from that team. And to be on a bandwagon that basketball is dying, that's absolutely ridiculous. Thank you.
So moving forward, we are building this program up. We're going to get camps going. I do want to point out a couple things to this board. On our coaching staff currently, we have 2 girls coaches that are All-Americans in their colleges. One went to the Olympics. The other one is an All-American at University of Michigan. It doesn't get any better than that. Those are the 2 best role models we have on our coaching staff for girls. And we're still struggling getting numbers out. So we just have to get the community engaged and coming out, being committed, dedicated to the sport, and get them going. And we can change the culture by offering all these sports, by getting them involved, by our head coaches involved into the middle schools more, which Mike's plan is going to allow us to have the head coaches there training the middle school teams. Go ahead.
As well as bringing back the Booster Club. We need the parents involved to bring the kids to the games, to the tryouts, to the academics.
That's right.
Because without the academics, they can't be in the games.
That's correct.
And we have a lot of issues with that, too.
Absolutely.
From a football standpoint, our demographics from a racial standpoint has changed. We have top-heavy Hispanics. And I'm just wondering, do you have a lot of Hispanics come out for football? I'm asking the question.
Yes, we do.
Because, I guess, again, like I say, I've always seen, it appears to me that they go out for soccer, and they do that maliciously, and they do well in that sport. And I do know that when as I speak, I look around the NFL, and I look at the NFL players, I don't see a lot of even Hispanics in the NFL league at all. So I'm just wondering, is that a trigger here in high school? Do they come out for football? I don't know. You the athletic director, and is that true or is that not
Yeah,
true?
I would say a majority of our team is Hispanic.
Okay. See, I did not know that. I was under the impression that a lot of them did not come out for football because of the fact, most of the time, in the NFL, you don't see a lot of Hispanics playing football, but you see them playing soccer all the time. And I know they're good at that, but that's good to know.
That's all I have. If anyone doesn't have any more questions?
And I'm going to just close it by saying that Mr. Gonzalez has brought us his expertise and some ideas as far as trying to make change as far as the athletic programs that we have. He talked about baseball, he talked about basketball, he talked about football. And I do know that even with baseball, when you look at it from a demographic standpoint, you may have 2 or 3 African Americans on the baseball, and it's always been that way. And that is because of the fact nobody has never actually really pulled them in. And I'm saying that to say that I went to Arizona myself with the Boys and Girls Club because the Boys and Girls Club had me go to Arizona to try to figure out a way to recruit more African American young men out of the community to play baseball, because some reason or another it was just like that sport didn't interest them. But I'm listening at your program. That would include baseball, whether you never really hear talk about basketball as well as football. And I do know that you have a host of experience in that, because I watched you run the Boys and Girls Club. You did successful in that. Not just in Waukegan. You ran the Boys and Girls Club, not the Boys and Girls, the Stars program here in Waukegan, and you also ran it in Zion School as well. So I do know that when you come and speak and give us the wisdom of what you know about sports in terms of making this program turn around, you know what you're talking about, and you showed us that with Jan. And I can't do nothing but respect you, because I'm going to say it again. Anytime you pull up all these elementary schools, every last one of them, 2 or 3 nights with parents filling the grandstand, or shall I say somebody help me out. The bleachers, yeah. When they're filling those bleachers up with parents, that's saying something.
Ms. Lexamo, final comment.
Thank you, Board President. I just want to say I appreciate the passion that our athletic team has demonstrated today. I am really excited about what the future entails. I'm really excited about the NCAA clearinghouse. That was a major hurdle for a lot of our athletes, and now that they have that opportunity, that every single one of them has that route, if that is their potential. So that is amazing. But you know, when it comes to board, this is where the money is at, right? So I'm hoping that maybe we're going to see some batting cages, some, pitchers' machines, or even athletic equipment to help with vertical jumping for basketball, soccer, and volleyball, right? So there's a lot of stuff that we still don't have. You've done a great job, right? But, I'm so excited about that, and I'm just kind of putting that out there as one board member that is willing to say yes. Thank you. I think there was even a quote about that, right? I think there was a potential quote about a potential field house at one point. So I know we talked about even Weiss Field being potentially upgraded to turf, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's out there that can be, and just like to hear your proposal, and I'm really excited for your passion. Our athletes deserve it. They really do. Waukegan has a lot of great talent in here, and when we go out to those conferences, we show them and we show out. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
You would fair to say that the Waukegan Fieldhouse, every week, there's always tournaments in there. And most of the time, those tournaments come from the outside, Wheaton, Deerfield, Aurora, with all those kids. And I think that what Mike is trying to do is get us to that point to where as though we'll have enough kids in Waukegan to be able to compete and be involved in that kind of atmosphere. Yeah, but I'm speaking about the field house over there. Our field house in Waukegan, every weekend for sports, before the pandemic started here, was always full on a Saturday. You couldn't even get in the lot, but everybody was coming with their teams and their kids from outside the community, and that's what we need.
No question about it. But I recall at the middle school tournament a couple of years ago, when things were full strength, I remember seeing two of our middle school teams that maybe it was grades, eligibility, whatever, that had 6 kids on the roster in the layup. So any surprise about numbers right now, it's COVID, no question.
Right.
But it's also deeper than just COVID.
Correct.
I remember watching, it might have been Juarez, 6 kids in the layup line. And I remember remarking for coaches, this isn't going to bode well. I have seen this coming for a long time. COVID exacerbated everything, but I have seen this coming for a long time.
With that, it is now
Yes.
10:15. I would like to call for a motion to adjourn. I think it's an
So
important
moved.
conversation, but one we can continue. So motion to adjourn. We got
So
a
moved.
second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
And Mr. Ashloff, see, I was with you in Peoria.